Welcome to Conversations from the Edge of Consciousness. I'm your host, Christine Madera. For me, and possibly for you, the inner world of consciousness has always been much more real and way more fun than the so-called real material world. Growing up, I thought I was alone in this, but I'm not. There are a lot of us, and far too many have no one to talk to who shares this experience. I've been lucky to cultivate a community of friends who love to talk about the energies, ideas, and vibrations that are pushing the edges of our own consciousness, as well as our collective consciousness. In Conversations from the Edge, we share our conversations with you. Welcome to Conversations from the Edge. This is your host, Christine Madera, and we're here today with Claudia Navone. So Claudia was born in Florence and lives various places around the world, and she started her career as a ballerina and then became a fashion editor and director of publications like Elle and Harper's Bazaar. A powerful spiritual awakening in 2006 awakened her to her own spiritual path, which she outlines through her spiritual coming-of-age novel, A Shapeshifter's Tale from Glitter to Light. Claudia is a mentor and teacher of the Divine University, and she will soon be launching a truly innovative new spiritual platform called In Spirit, which we will talk about at some point in the future. In Claudia's column, Simply Consciousness on Thrive Global, she discusses the mechanisms of consciousness to help readers achieve a new level of awareness and self-realization. And she also interviews luminaries like Greg Braden and other people that I really respect and admire. So thank you for being here, Claudia, and welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me on your beautiful program and to give a platform to people like us so that we can help many others. So thank you, Christine.
Well, thank you. Now, is there anything that you would like to tell people that I didn't put in your introduction?
There is so much to the stories that I think we will need 55 programs to cover it all. So it's very good that I wrote this book, The Shapeshifter, which really tells the story of my life and my awakening. So if someone is very interested in that, can just buy the book and can read all the details about it. What I can say briefly is that now that I'm awakened, I would not go back to my previous state if you pay me $200 million. It's wonderful to be awakened, and my heart goes to the many hundreds of thousands of peoples, of souls that are awakening right now, because we are really becoming a movement. Even if you look at the news, looks like, oh my God, what a world. But this is just the surface. There is so much goodness going on as well. And we can't forget that, especially in times like these, who are difficult. But I know in my heart that there is hope and light at the end of this dark tunnel. And many people are awakening because of it as well.
Yes, I agree. And it seems to be part of the process of awakening to have your world turned upside down oftentimes. And so that seems to be what we are going through globally.
Yes.
So we were going to talk today about reality and the nature of reality. And so I just wanted to ask you, what is reality to you? What does it mean to you? And how do you experience reality?
That's a wonderful question. Thank you. So reality for me, because of my awakened state, because before was different, but now reality is what I create, basically. Because through the awakening, through the many, many years of study that I've done with the Divine University, I came to this wonderful realization that I am the creator of my reality. And when I had my awakening and the enlightened masters came also to me to become my teachers in bodies of light, Mm-hmm. What they wanted from me was that I basically let go of all of my previous reality and built a total new reality. This was my task, and it was necessary to make me realize, not just as a kind of as a form of philosophy or as an idea, but in a practical way, that I had the power to completely change and transform my reality. Now, I can't tell you that it was easy, because it wasn't, especially in the beginning. I had to go through all of my fears. All of my fears. I had so much fear, especially financial fear. Then, I was a real well-known fashion editor. I spent 25 years of my life in the world of fashion. And to let go of all of that, and, the ego, all the perks, all that life, and go into this new life and create all of a new reality for myself was frightening sometimes, and was quite laborious at the time. But I can't tell you the grace that I had encountered, and also it was a wonderful teaching, like a daily teaching, where I had to practice how I was thinking, what I was saying, and what were my actions. So I try and explain a little bit better. We are truly creating our reality through the basic, which are our thoughts, our words, and our action. So if we have negativity in our thoughts, then in our words, and we forget that our words have frequencies, our thoughts have frequencies. We are like these incredible antennas, and we are projecting upon the universe, upon our reality, everything that we think, everything that we say, and all of our action. So the question is, what do we want to project? What do we want to project? Do we want to project our fears? Do we want to project our egos? Do we want to project our negativity? Or do we want to project positivity, faith, beauty, grace? It's up to us.
Okay, so for a lot of people that are listening, they may have heard of things like the law of attraction and some of these ideas that your thoughts and that your vibrations and things have frequencies and are trying to create that. But and a lot of people come to this after not having been very successful in the world, but you were quite successful in the world. So what was the difference between your success before your awakening and how you created that? And then and how you created that reality, and then how you created it in this new way, because that contrast might be really helpful to people.
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Thank you. So basically, I was successful, but I was also very unhappy. So what I wanted to manifest the most in my life, which was love. I was unable to love. So, and I was unable to receive, basically. So I had this life that on the surface was incredibly glamorous. And on the surface, many people might have thought I was the luckiest girl in the world. But there was an underlining of absolute emptiness and unhappiness. And I did not know what to do about it. And because I did not know what to do about it, I put all of my concentration on my career. So I made myself successful because that was the only part of my life that seemed like I did not have karma. And so, and I was very creative. I had this creation flow within me. And so I made it all there. But
Mm-hmm.
once I started to become really successful, also in that, I also hit a wall because it was so much fun in the very beginning when I had to get where I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
But once I arrived and I had my first really big job, very powerful job in fashion, I was the fashion director of the Sunday Times
Mm-hmm.
with, I don't know, 2 million readers every week,
Wow.
front row in every shows, like all of that. That is when I hit the biggest wall. And I was thinking every day, is that what life is all about?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, because it all seems so glamorous when you're there and you got the success and you wear the best clothes and you go to the best restaurants and all
Mm-hmm.
this superficial lovely stuff. But my God, I mean, I couldn't have the man I really wanted. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I was very much in love with someone and like it wasn't working at all. And so I was having then all this, I was like, how do you say, like a serious relationship. I was addicted, to
Oh.
relationship, to
Mm-hmm.
all of
Yeah.
that. But I wasn't succeeding because I I was so much in fear to open my heart. I was wearing a mask, a really
Mm-hmm.
thick mask. So I only show people what I wanted to show them,
Okay.
all this superficial beauty and glamour or whatever, but wasn't my real me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very unhappy as a result. I mean, I had wonderful friends, so I was very lucky to at least have that. And I had major problem with my family, um, and I wasn't able to deal with emotion in any way. So I was putting everything under the carpet.
Ah.
And then in the end I wasn't even passionate about my work anymore because you know it's like, okay, so you do this and you have this position, and then yes, you can change magazine, you can go to another magazine, but it's all the same. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah.
problem that I had was within me, but I couldn't even look within myself. That's why I
Mm-hmm.
was a work addict, and then I was smoking like crazy. I was taking drugs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I had addiction,
Mm-hmm.
and I was addicted to doing things, to travel constantly, to be busy, 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 busy. So I did not have to think and to look deeply within myself. Till the day I had this spontaneous, huge awakening that changed everything, basically.
So tell us a little bit about that awakening and how did you experience reality differently after that awakening than you did before in a way that can contrast the different ways that people can experience reality?
Okay, so basically, my awakening was what I call almost a violent awakening,
Mm.
where everything changed in one evening. In
Wow.
one evening, my reality became multidimensional. So it wasn't just this reality, but all opened up at the same
Right.
time. And
Wow.
I had beings of light coming to me. I could see through all the different dimensions. The enlightened masters came to me, and I could see everything because I always had the gift of seership since I
Uh-huh.
was a child. I wasn't really
Uh-huh.
thinking much about it, but I could always see the other side since I was a child.
How did you respond that day? I mean, that sounds like it was such, like you said, it was so violent. It was such a different level of experience. Like, how did you,
Yes, it was.
was it terrifying or how did you respond in the moment to what was happening?
So it was a little bit terrifying, but not so much because firstly, I was prepared for this. For a few years, I started to have more and more incredible experiences, spiritual experiences, very powerful, very dramatic. So they kind of prepared me slowly. Dreams. I started to have all these dreams, like really wow dreams. And then when I had this really truly dramatic awakening, before I had an angel that came to me like 2 or 3 days before, telling me that my life was about to change.
Okay.
Which I did not know if to believe him or not, but 3 days later it did happen.
Wow.
And the way that it happened is there was this incredible teacher, Sriyama Kuala Phoenix, that then became my teacher. And my friend in Byron Bay, I was living in Australia at the time, he basically dragged me by my hair to this workshop. And it's there that I started to completely open my third eyes. And then the second day, in the evening, after I finished that workshop, I had this major awakening where I became a multidimensional being, basically. And then my reality became straight away very different, because then you realize that the earthly, the 3D, it's only one reality. There are so many realities. So that was the beginning of my journey.
Wow. Okay. So, for most people, 3D reality is all that we know. It's all that they know. Even if you're in the process of awakening, like, people know that they're awakening to something more, but they haven't, beyond kind of the things that you experienced in your preparation, beyond having insights or having experiences with multidimensional beings, but maybe through meditation or something like that, and not quite the direct experience. It still feels for many people like 3D is kind of, the only thing there is, and there's this other idea of what things are, but they don't know how to experience that. So how would you talk about how you experience life now, and how other people might be able to open up to that experience more?
Okay, so with the Divine University, one of the most incredible things that I learned through these streams of consciousness who are very starry, coming from the central sun, from which we are studying, and it's all very frequency based, but we are understanding and learning that there is a science of the light, and with the physical body, we all have an energy body. And the wonderful way of opening ourselves up to the infinite, what goes beyond 3D, what goes beyond our mind, is to really begin to switch on the light within ourselves daily with spiritual practices. So from many, many years, I've been practicing these and switching the light on, not only my chakra systems, but also there are many other parts of our energy body. So I've been learning about all of this, and there are wonderful meditations to be able to do this and to begin to open yourself up in a safe and wonderful way to our multi-dimensional nature. Because really, Christine, we are all beings of light, having a human experience here on earth, but we are beings of light. And so we do have this energy body. So the first thing is like realizing that we have an energy body, and that we can develop and reopen it, because everything that we need, we already have, but we just need to remember. That's what awakening is remembering. And remembering that realities. There are so many realities, and that we are so multidimensional. And when you're opening yourself to all these other realities, and you are really switching on your light and expanding your consciousness, then you can bring all of this light, all of this grace, all of this love in the reality here in 3D. And so you are living the 3D life not anymore in 3D, but you're living it firstly in 4Ds when you are beginning to awakening, and then in 5D, 6D, 7D, where you're finally embodying the Christ consciousness. And so you are not really touched by the 3D reality anymore. For example, we were speaking before together, before we started the recording of the program, of how grateful we both are that we have not been touched by this heavy reality in 3D at the moment, with the coronavirus and all of that. And the only reason why is because through opening ourselves spiritually, doing the spiritual practices, we have been raising our vibrations to all a different level. And our reality, it's not 3D anymore, even if we are in a physical body and we are in a 3D reality, but we are experiencing in a total different way. And this is a beautiful message that I wish everybody would take notice of it, because everybody has the same opportunities to open themselves up and not being stuck anymore in 3D. So this process is called ascensions. So the Divine University teaches you all the ascension teachings, basically. So what does that mean? Is that while you are in 3D density, in a physical body, our soul can ascend, even if we are still alive in our physical body in 3D. Our soul can ascend in 4D, 5D, 6D, 7D through the awakening process. So we are not stuck anymore in this 3D reality. So the Divine University's teachings are all teachings of ascensions. How can you ascend? Because when we are ascending, but still being in our physical form, in this earthly reality, our reality can become truly so blissful and so graceful and so peaceful and untouched by the collective consciousness that forms the 3D reality, because you are ascending. So your frequencies are raising up and up and up and up, and you are here, but you are not affected by that collective consciousness. Does it make sense?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, I've had this conversation or similar with other guests as well. And that really is the experience of ascension that so many people are having, that you have a body, you have a life, but when you're not focused into collective consciousness and you're not focused on the drama of the surface part of life, and you're doing spiritual practice to increase and expand your vibration, that you are experiencing life in a much different way, and it's infused with grace. And you talked about grace as well. And so, once you had your awakening experience and you were asked to completely change your physical reality, what you were doing and things, you said that you had had to face all of your fears. There was a lot of, work that you had to do. And I think there's some notion that somehow when we awaken or come to ascension, that all of a sudden there's nothing to solve. Everything is just this blissful flowing of finding money, and that there's never any kind of effort or growth or having to do things that you would normally think of needing to do, like develop a career and that kind of thing, but you did. So can you talk about that and how grace supported you in that process in a different way than how you
Yes.
had grown your career in the past?
So basically, the enlightened masters, they came to me one day. I
Mm-hmm.
was in Australia, still in the fashions, because I was taking my time to let things go. I was
Uh-huh.
very attached to my other life, and they came to me, and it was an incredible experience. And they spoke to me for the first time of my divine plan, that there was a
Mm-hmm.
divine plan for my life. And it could only happen if I would trust it completely and let go of everything. Like I even had to let go of all of my clothes,
Oh,
of all of my
wow.
possession. I had to let
Mm-hmm.
go of everything. And they sent me back to Europe as well. They said,
Mm-hmm.
your mission is not starting from Australia, is going to start from Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to completely believe that this was going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
in a way, I did. But, I was still going through a cleansing process, which is called the dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was massive, because this is a process that maybe some people have many years to do, but they made me do it in 9 months. So it
Wow.
was really full on. And I was suicidal at some points, because I
Mm-hmm.
felt all the weight of the world on my shoulders while I was going through this huge cleansing. But
Wow.
after I came out of that, and I had not much money. I mean, you have no idea,
Mm-hmm.
like all of my possessions gone. But they said to me, don't worry, because all of these people are going to come to you and they will help you. And Christine, I promise you, that was the truth. I
Oh,
had
wow.
so many people coming to me with money, with this, with that, giving me, like letting me stay in their homes. Things. I had
Mm-hmm.
all the help that I could have dreamed of. And
Good.
slowly I built my reality. And so it is very true. Everything that you need comes to you. And now for me it's more and more like that. So all what I have to do is to be responsible for my energy, basically,
Mm-hmm.
to have a very clear energy. That is my responsibility. And everything else comes to me. Everything I need to do, all the people that are helping me in my missions, everything comes and is extraordinary. And life is very light. I feel very light. I don't go up and down. Before I used to be such a moody person.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like peace. It's so much peace, and I don't go up and down, and I have all the love that I need from my own source, because we all have an infinite source of love, light, and power of creation. So I don't sleep much. I can function very well on 3-4 hours of sleep. Because my night I receive so many visitations and things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have this, I am on this divine plan. So I kind of know what's going to happen. So I never worry about anything anymore. I don't try to control anything. I mean, it's pretty cool. I highly recommended it to everyone. Please awake and have a wonderful life.
Well, so there's one other thing I wanted to ask you about in there, and I think it is actually one of the big keys to awakening for people. And you talked about it, in your old reality, your 3D reality, that the one thing that you couldn't do was to, do the allowing and the receiving, like allowing and receiving
Yeah,
love and that. And the primary thing I think that you need to allow and receive and embody and incorporate in order to awaken is this larger aspect of yourself, to know that you are more than just your body. And that sense of separation that we have in 3D, when we can begin to allow and
it's huge.
receive, this receive us, receive, it's not my guides, it's not the angels, it's not something outside of me, it's not a philosophy I've learned, it's not a religion, but you at that fundamental infinite level. If you can receive you, like that's the key to receiving everything. And that's actually, I think, one of the hardest things to do for most people.
Well, yes, especially, I mean, one of the keys of awakening is opening our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And my heart was really closed. And my first phase of awakening was an awakening of the light, because there are different phases to awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So an awakening of the light is when you are suddenly able to connect multidimensionally,
Mm-hmm.
But you can have a lot of light, but a lot of light needs to be balanced by love.
Mm-hmm.
And the second phase of my awakening is when I really began to open my heart. And when that happened, I could not stop crying, I think for about 2 years. I never cried so much in my life. And this heart was opening and opening and opening and opening. And so you see, the awakening, it's an alchemical process of
Mm-hmm.
love and light. And love and light is what creates the power of creation, our spiritual power. So you can't be all light and no love, and you can't be all love and no light. You need both.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it was a wonderful way of developing myself and studying, because there is a science to the light, and which start beings, the beings from the other side, they all can teach us, and that is what really I learn, is this science of light through also the many schools of the Divine University and all of that. And that really is what helped me so much and put me on an acceleration path, a big acceleration path.
Okay. So if there was one practice or thing that people could do today and incorporate into their life that would help to expand light and love and integrate those and help them awaken, what would it be? What would you recommend?
So we have a very basic meditation
Mm-hmm.
at the Divine University, which is basically becoming aware of these different parts of our energy body. And one of these elements is this incredible flame at the base of our heart chakra, which is our eternal flame, directly connected to our soul.
Okay.
And then there is the crystal core, which is our most powerful light, our own most powerful light. And it's like a tube of light that goes from the crown chakra to the base chakra, just straight down. And chakras are sitting on that. And also, and with all the movement and the understanding of that, you can build for yourself a pillar of light. And this pillar of light is what gives you this incredible, stable connection to the Earth Mother, to Gaia, all the way down, and to the cosmos all the way up. So you're becoming completely connected with Earth and cosmos. And all of your ascended parts, all of your higher selves, they can travel up and down through the Antakarana bridge, and you can build all of these parts and have this incredible, stable connection, basically. And that is the basic of what I've been learning from the very beginning. And I built for myself through this incredible teaching of Sri Amakwala Phoenix, which is the founder of the Divine University. All of us, which are learning in that way, because this is only a way, Christine, obviously,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I can only tell you about how I learned. And in that way, we have been all learning how to have this incredible, stable connection, which doesn't make you go up and down. There are no oscillation.
Mm-hmm.
There is only, we're very grounded in our connection, basically.
And that's so important.
And this is my saving grace every day of my life, is to have this incredible connection. And now I can open it really quickly. And, 2 minutes and I'm done. But I've been practicing that since 2007, when I really started to study very profoundly about, the teachings of the Divine University and all of that. And now I'm a teacher myself. And that's what that's what I'm teaching, the basic to all of my students as well, and all of that. They're coming all from there. And then all the teaching is based on frequencies. So the learning is not like you say is a Divine University, but it's not like going to school and you read the paper and you learn them with your mind. It's very different, because we are learning through the frequencies. So are the frequencies that are putting the teachings directly into our consciousness. And this is why I call myself a teacher of consciousness, because the most important things is to have the understanding of all the mechanism of one's own consciousness, because this is how you can really learn about yourself, about all these different aspects of your own consciousness, and what you have to put into the light, what is already in the light, what needs to go into the light. So you have to become your loving observer and observe what is triggering you, like, okay, so you can realign straight away. And so what I really find fascinating, what I'm teaching, is consciousness, and how everything works in our consciousness.
Well, and I think we've talked about having our next conversation on consciousness. So that's a perfect segue to invite people to pay attention to the next conversation that we have. Is there any last little thing that you would like to say? And before you do that, I want to remind people or let people know that you can find all of Claudia's links to Instagram, to her Thrive Global article, and other links at conversationsfromtheedge.net, and you just find Claudia and you'll see her links in there. So, but is there anything last little thing you want to say, Claudia, before we wrap up?
Well, yes. I mean, I would like to give, like, for, all the listener, just to say to them, have the faith to know, to understand that you are so much more than your little physical body. You are such a big being, and you are so amazing. And my heart goes to humankind just to say, believe in that and remember who you truly are, because you are truly magnificent.
You are. And you have to remember that not in your thinking mind, because that's where all of our doubts and fears are, but in that deeper part of you where your truth is.
Beyond the mind, you are immortal, you are infinite.
Yes.
And also, I mean, the mind is a wonderful instrument, but it needs to be connected to the heart and to the higher consciousness, and then all can work together.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Claudia. It's been wonderful talking with you. I'm really looking forward to our next conversation. So thank you very much for being here.
Oh, thank you, Christine, and all of your wonderful questions. Thank you so much.
This is your host, Christine Madeira. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation from the edge of consciousness. You can find all our conversations at conversationsfromtheedge.net. You'll also find links to schedule a private conversation with me or any of my friends, as well as tools to help you expand your own consciousness and explore what's possible for you outside the boundaries of your current perceptions. Feel free to use this podcast to start your own conversation. by sharing it with friends, on social media, in your blog, or even in your own podcast. And as always, live the adventure of pushing your own edge. It's the most amazing adventure there is.